Story 1. I was always told to put alcohol on my wounds, but it turns out some of them are on the inside. Story 2. I am drunk while writing this comment. It is mainly for the buzz and to escape from reality. Story 3. It's refreshing, especially after a day's work. I like a couple of beers and the odd sugarcane champagne. Story 4. I love the social aspect of drinking and meeting new people. I enjoy making a good cocktail at home with the perfect ingredients as much as I like cooking. Story 5. This is how it feels and how it reduces my extreme social anxiety. I hate the taste and have never enjoyed drinking it. It is about consuming as much as possible quickly and smoothly. Story 6. People do not drink alcohol for health reasons. Alcohol is generally harmful to the body, and although some people mention blood thinning, alcohol is not a medical treatment. It relaxes you and makes social situations easier. Otherwise, beer and whiskey are enjoyed for their taste. Story 7. Drink craft beer for the taste and inexpensive beer as a refresher on hot days. Do not like being drunk or even too buzzed. Story 8. I have been pregnant for the last 7 months, so no drinking for me. The last month we have been adding a third bedroom to our 800 square foot house. With an already small house feeling even smaller, it has been a long ongoing project of selling furniture, getting new items that fit better, reorganizing, and decluttering. After a day when we have accomplished a lot and our toddler is finally asleep, I really want to just sit on the couch with my husband, have a couple of glasses of wine, and talk, laugh, and reflect on how the house is coming together. Of course, we can do that without alcohol, but we are usually so burnt out by then that we just watch a show and fall asleep. Alcohol gives a pleasant little buzz that can reinvigorate you for a short time. I also love to drink wine while I paint. It makes the music more fun and makes my approach to painting more relaxed and enjoyable. I really miss wine. Story 9. Being slightly tipsy can be enjoyable. The only alcohol I drink these days is artisanal or craft. I like the rise of smaller local breweries near me that offer many good options. Story 10. I enjoy the taste of wine, good beer, and the occasional brandy. I appreciate complex flavors and the relaxing effect of alcohol. Story 11. It makes life bearable. It's either the bottle or the morgue. Story 12. I like the taste of some, but I never drink gin, scotch, or tequila. Story 13. It is great at cleaning a whiteboard and sterilizing the skin for medical procedures. Story 14. I was never a big drinker until recently. Alcohol makes the pain less. Story 15. It reduces crippling social anxiety. I have horrific stage fright, and one of my friends had been begging me for years to do karaoke. I finally did it last weekend. Never again. I had to get sloshed to work up the courage. Story 16. Alcohol, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. Homer Simpson. Story 17. Because stupid people are less annoying when you sabotage your own brain. Story 18. It makes me fall asleep long enough to get the recommended 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Story 19. I am lonely, and alcohol helps with my social inhibitions. It also makes me less anxious about doing mundane things to enjoy myself. When I am sober, I might think about watching television for hours but not actually do it. When I am drinking, I just watch the television. Story 20. Escape from reality, and I care less about how bad I feel. Story 21. I would say for most people it is cheaper than therapy but not as effective. Story 22. I like the story behind it and the complexity of flavor that can be achieved by a skilled craftsperson. For example, I have a single vintage cognac harvested by one family in the fall of the year I was born. The grapes were made into a dry white wine that fall and then distilled into cognac. It aged in barrels until the 1990s when it was bottled. It is very special to me because, as an adult, I enjoy the fruits of that family's labor. They worked that year to create a cognac that would eventually be consumed by someone who had just been born. Story 23. It makes me feel like a supervillain, an artist, a genius, and a brother all in one. Story 24. There are some absolutely delicious flavors out there. Cherry blossom cider, Macallan 18, apple brandy and cider, and agavero on the rocks. Story 25. I just kind of hate being sober. Alcohol is more socially acceptable and less damaging to the body than methamphetamine. Story 26. As a Mexican, I feel it is in my blood, unfortunately. Not only are many members of my family alcoholics, but much of our music, celebrations, and traditions are centered around alcohol. Our emotions can be expressed because we become vulnerable. I drink when I am sad, happy, or angry. I drink to mourn and to celebrate. I sometimes drink just to drink. It is comforting. I don't know if it is an oral fixation or what, but the action of taking a shot is soothing for me. Story 27. I used to drink because it gave me temporary relief from my anxiety, lubricated conversation, and generally made outings a little more fun. However, I am 1.5 years sober because the things I do not like far outweigh those benefits. Story 28. I like the warm, loose feeling of being slightly buzzed. I'm an introvert with mild social anxiety, and a couple of drinks help me enjoy social situations. The returns diminish rapidly beyond that state. Can still be enjoyable, but not more, so I seldom have more than 2 to 3 drinks in an evening. Story 29. It relaxes my mind and opens up conversations. Sleep comes much more easily. Everything in moderation. Story 30. I hate myself, the world, and you specifically. I despise the constant questions from people who obviously do not understand the first fucking thing about what it means to have an issue with yourself. If you can sit in the safety of your little room and ask questions like this so earnestly, I envy you. Thank yourself every day that you live in a world where you do not have to drink to deal with it. The reality is a Lovecraftian exercise in pain that will always be alien to you. Enjoy it. It's all yours. Story 31. Yes, but I've never struggled to regulate my consumption, fortunately. I don't love it, but it's nice with my buddies. Story 32. Bidirectional encoder representations from Transformers explains it best for me. Story 33. Possessive, mysterious, tidy, encourage, money, rich, crawl, instinctive, rain, sense. Story 34. I have about 4 cans every night. It helps me relax, unwind, and watch television before bed. Story 35. My mind stops working and I fall asleep. Waking up is hell, though. Story 36. I do not drink to get a buzz, escape, socialize, or any of that. I will have a good bourbon every couple of months because I enjoy it. If they ever make a non-alcoholic Buffalo Trace or Weller, I will invest heavily in the company. Story 37. It is like a warm blanket, a temporary reprieve from the cold reality of life's responsibilities and, of course, other people. Story 38. I don't drink very much, but I find it the only way to tolerate the presence of drunk people. Alcohol in the bloodstream somehow lets you turn the inane nonsense around you into something your brain enjoys. It also makes the idea of another drink seem appealing. Dancing like a fool and celebrating life with friends can be fun occasionally, but generally it feels like a massive waste of time, money, and the opportunity cost of coherent thought. Moderation is key. It is more enjoyable to drink infrequently than to work shift after shift, slowly getting numb and keeping the dust off a bar stool. Story 39. I never did, and it took me almost 20 years as an adult to admit and embrace this fact. Story 40. Beer is proof that God loves me and wants me to be happy. Story 41. It makes me feel good. Some of the best times of my life are when my friend and I drink and listen to heavy metal for hours. I do not do it often, so I do not think it is a health concern. It is a fantastic way to blow off the stress of adulthood. Story 42. My obsessive-compulsive disorder symptoms are significantly reduced when I drink, and I feel less anxious and happier. I wish alcohol were not so harmful to the body. Story 43. I enjoy the taste of beer. It also keeps me from eating sugary treats because beer is my treat of choice. You can enjoy a beer simply for the flavor, and the buzz is a bonus. Story 44. I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy. Story 45. because it is better than dealing with the reality that unless you are a billionaire, you do not matter. Story 46. I like how it silences my inner monologue. Sometimes I just need a break from its constant thinking. Also, not having the occasional thought that life would be better if I were dead really helps keep me happy. Story 47. Yes, alcohol is bad for you. Being miserable, however, is much worse. Story 48. I like the taste of much of it, and many varieties go well with food. I enjoy the weight I feel in my head. It's pleasant, and it mostly quiets my internal negative thoughts. Story 49. Taste and feelings. No worry about abuse or addiction. They are not the type and are old enough to have gotten binge behavior and reckless actions out of the way in social settings. Story 50. Beers and cranked-up YouTube music videos from the 1980s and the 1990s are my kryptonite. Story 51. It's not so much that I enjoy alcohol. I do loosen up and get sillier. I am normally very reserved, and with friends it's fun, but I do not like getting drunk. I prefer just a buzz. More than the alcohol itself, I enjoy the taste of different drinks and view them as art, similar to food. If I could enjoy the range and quality of everything without alcohol, I would. Fortunately, non-alcoholic beer and other options are getting better. Shout out to Athletic. Story 52. I enjoy tasty drinks. A lot of them are alcoholic. I had a beer phase and now I usually drink hard seltzers. Story 53. It tastes good and feels good. I do not drink anymore though. Story 54. The algorithm is running, laughing out loud. It makes me feel numb for a bit. I vomited for the first time after drinking alcohol tonight. I might need to reevaluate. What a revelation. Story 55. I love how much I hate its taste because I dislike everything about alcohol. Story 56. Rubbing alcohol when it hurts on the outside. Drinking alcohol when it hurts on the inside. Just kidding. 8 years sober after almost a decade wasted chasing the bottom of a bottle. The best decision I ever made. Story 57. Some of it tastes good. The stuff that does not can lead to a fun night from time to time. I do not drink often. Story 58. It tastes gorgeous and makes me feel good. It is not much of a question, really. Story 59. I don't drink alcohol anymore because it does not mix well with my medication, but I appreciated the craftsmanship and time that go into my favorite whiskeys and how a wide variety of flavors can come from the same limited set of ingredients. I also enjoyed the social aspect of relaxing with fellow drinkers and tasting and discussing the bottles we had brought. Story 60. It makes me happy while I'm drinking it. Not so much afterward, but even a small escape from reality is still an escape. Story 61. I honestly do not know. It is probably habit at this point more than anything else. Story 62. Post-traumatic stress disorder and trauma, combined with an overthinking mind, can be exhausting. Drinking eliminates it for me and numbs the pain. It sends me into an endorphin rush where I can enjoy music more and feel cheerful. But it is destroying my body. I create less, cook poorly, and spend more. I do a year-long cleanse when it gets bad. In February this year, I am doing another one. Weird pains and frightening weight gain are not okay. I am going to cleanse and lose 50 pounds. Why create more trauma? Story 63. I used to enjoy drinking as a way to relax. However, as I got older, it became increasingly stressful. The morning after, even after as few as 2 drinks, I would be hit with day-long anxiety that worsened the more I drank. Eventually, knowing what was to come, the act itself became stressful, so about 2 years ago I stopped drinking. I have 1 or 2 on very rare occasions. In 2024, I think I had a total of 5 or 6 drinks. Story 64. Wine tastes much better than soda or water. Story 65. I'm a cautious drinker because alcoholism runs in my family and I really do not like being drunk. That said, I enjoy the taste of certain alcoholic beverages and have experimented a little with mixing cocktails. After a hard day at work, especially when I am off the next day, having 1 or 2 drinks with or after a meal helps me relax faster, so I can get on with tasks around the house sooner or simply sleep better that night. Story 66. Wow. These comments are something else. I'm very glad I stay away from alcohol. Story 67. It makes me warm inside and gives me an inflated sense of self-esteem. Story 68. I have been drinking 10 to 12 beers every day after work for the last 10 years. Beginning tomorrow, I will try my best to stop drinking on weeknights. Wish me luck. Story 69. I don't drink a lot, but when I do, I make sure to splurge on good stuff. Years ago, I fell out of love with alcohol, and then I realized I had just been drinking a lot of cheap stuff. Story 70. To paraphrase Charlie Sheen, alcohol is a poison and there are things inside me that I need to kill. Story 71. I was deeply depressed and constantly anxious. If I drank enough alcohol, those feelings would temporarily disappear. Story 72. Some of the funniest conversations and best moments come from being moderately intoxicated. It releases tension and makes people feel freer to express themselves. Story 73. Sometimes I just enjoy a glass of wine with a good meal. I do not enjoy getting drunk as I get older. It is no longer fun. I would rather be present with my family. Story 74. I do not enjoy drinking. I only drink at social events. If I have to drink, I prefer shots or a soda and liquor combination. I do not like beer. Story 75. I really like the taste of rum and Coke, and it improves my social skills. If it does not improve them, it at least makes me stop worrying about them. I am one of those people who become funnier and more positive with some alcohol in their system. Story 76. I'm trying to step away from alcohol mainly because of the hangovers and feeling unhealthy in general. Being drunk is awesome, though. Story 77. I am a cocktail nerd who does not like to get drunk, so I am serious when I say it is the flavor. Not literally the flavor of alcohol. You will not find any vodka in my bar. Alcohol can dissolve and hold more powerful and concentrated flavors than almost anything else you would put in your body. I find the potent and complex flavors of different spirits, liqueurs, bitters, and other ingredients very interesting, and a good cocktail can elevate and lengthen those flavors so you can experience every little note, twist, and contrast. As much as I love the experience of cocktails, I equally love the ritual of making them, creating my own ingredients, and sharing my creations with others. A good cocktail is revelatory to many who have only had cheaply made and poorly balanced bar drinks. It is not exactly a cheap hobby, so I see why good spirits are so rarely experienced by most people. I make good mocktails too, though it is extremely difficult to get anything close to drinks that are as complex and flavorful without any alcohol. Even a few dashes of bitters greatly improve most drinks. Story 78. Drinking alcohol can be a way to forget worries. It can help people escape reality because they often live in the past or the future. Story 79. I like the altered state of mind and the social aspects of drinking. Story 80. Usually I am a very serious, reserved person, but get a drink or two in me and I relax and say outrageous things. It makes my spouse laugh even if no one else does. Story 81. It relaxes me. I'm not an alcoholic. I usually have only 2 or 3 drinks a week. Story 82. It makes me feel like a human. I can engage in small talk. Completely shuts down my anxiety. Story 83. It helps me with my social anxiety, but most of the time it's not in a good way. Story 84. Self-medication for anxiety and pain. I like the buzz, and it takes the edge off cocaine. Story 85. It feels relaxing for a short time. Sometimes lowered inhibitions are fun and lead to interesting experiences. Story 86. I enjoy an occasional drink. It is relaxing and takes the edge off. Story 87. It's relaxing. Everything seems funnier, and it creates good memories and stories when you drink with friends. Some of my closest friendships grew stronger after a night of drinking together. Story 88. It provides physical and mental relaxation while quieting my mind. Story 89. I need to relax after work. It's nice to sip a good bourbon or scotch. Story 90. Personally, I like the taste and get excited when a bar offers something I have never tried, such as a cocktail they have created. Also, when I am in a place where I do not know many people, It helps with my social anxiety. Story 91. It makes all the bad stuff go away. It shuts out the chaos in my head, so I can finally be present without attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and anxiety messing me up. It always makes me feel amazing without having to do anything other than drink it. It makes saying, "fuck it, we'll see," seem like a great option by making fears about consequences and the future disappear. It gives me the confidence to become friends with anyone and allows me to be the person I love. Excited, cheerful, curious, focused, fun, happy, outgoing, smiling, attractive, empathetic. All the bad traits and sadness disappear. It makes any conversation at worst entertaining and at best exhilarating. It makes literally any activity feel awesome. Music, television, walks, art, books, plane rides, train rides, writing, thinking, drawing, dancing, singing, eating, smoking, gaming, drumming, disc jockeying, writing, laughing, crying, sex, love, more intense, more present, more beautiful, more good. But it has also damaged my health, become an addiction, and I cannot stop once I start. I am an alcoholic. Story 92. I have bipolar disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Alcohol makes me slightly less sharp and slightly less tense. I am extremely stressed most of the time. Cannabis helps a little. A small amount of alcohol, equivalent to the buzz from 1 or 2 drinks, also helps me let go somewhat. I cut back heavily because the dehydration became intolerable. Currently, I might take a couple of shots and then sip a drink every 30 minutes to maintain a light buzz throughout the night. If I lose the buzz at any point, I stop drinking for the night because it is not worth trying to get it back. Story 93. I enjoy a mild buzz in social settings with friends and family. I don't like getting very drunk. Story 94. It takes the edge off. Bourbon with a little smoke helps me unwind after a long day. Story 95. I enjoy the taste of dark beer or a good cocktail, and 1 to 2 drinks are enough to help me feel relaxed without feeling sick or having a hangover the next day. Story 96. I am more talkative when I have a buzz. I enjoy feeling tipsy, but not more than that. Story 97. Because it is awesome. Unfortunately, I have been off the sauce for a little over a year. Story 98. Some of my fondest memories involve alcohol, whether I am drinking or watching someone else drink. It allows me to relax and have fun when it would be difficult otherwise. Story 99. Bert more or less nailed it in my opinion. Story 100. I enjoy the taste of bourbon and various wheat alesh. I do not enjoy alcohol for its own sake. I do not drink to cope. I do not drink alone at home, and I have not been properly drunk since my early 20s. Some of you really need to question your drinking habits. Story 101. From time to time I do, but with all things in life it comes down to moderation. Being pleasantly drunk is fun on a night out. Drinking too much ruins the fun. Story 102. I used to drink a lot more than I do now. Back then I liked it because I have some undiagnosed neurological issues, and the alcohol made my head quieter and eased the blues while I was drinking. Afterward, it was a different story. Now I rarely drink and am almost never drunk. I enjoy a glass of decent red wine with a great meal, a cold beer after a day of working outside in summer, or a shared cup of mezcal to celebrate a special event. I use alcohol as punctuation for a moment. The moments are no less special without it, and these days there are more moments observed without alcohol than with it, but I like alcohol for that. Story 103. It's easier to slam into concrete when you're sauced up, like from wine. A few beers and some skateboarding go hand in hand when skating transitions or street. Story 104. I have only been drinking a hard kombucha or 2 when I skate, and it makes me better. Can be liquid courage. I will try things I normally would not, and I feel looser. Story 105. It means I'm done with everything I needed to do and can enjoy myself. Story 106. It helps me relax. I'm high-strung, and that's good, but it can be a lot in moments when I don't need it. It's the one legal way on a Saturday I can let go and not feel like I have to keep my shit completely together. Story 107. The contrast it offers, then the contrast it offers again. Repeat. Story 108. I find myself talking to strangers without prejudice. I have a sense of living outside my body. Take a step back and see how things unravel. Story 109. It makes it super easy to talk to people for the first time because everyone's in such a jovial mood. It's like making friends in kindergarten. Story 110. I have unresolved trauma, and it helps me feel comfortable in my own skin. Woo. Story 111. Mixed bag. I like getting drunk. I do not like being drunk, but I do it anyway. Story 112. No one enjoys alcohol. People enjoy everything around it. Story 113. An explanation. Alcohol. Story 114. It removed guilt, numbed the pain, and made me forget my problems. Those were my reasons for continuing to drink. Story 115. Up to a point. 3 to 5 drinks is my sweet spot. After that, it is a toss-up whether I am holding it together or ending up with a buzz I do not want. I do not get rude or start fights. I remain funny and pleasant, but I pay for it later. Banter, jokes, conversation, and lowered walls are nice. Losing a day or two to recover is not. Story 116. It's the same reason I like any food or beverage. The unique flavor each liquor brings to the table. Some things like vodka are unremarkable, but a good gin-based drink is nice. The sharp, hoppy bite of a pale ale is like a good black coffee. I don't drink to get drunk, and I hate wasting money, so I rarely drink and have little when I do. Story 117. I absolutely hate it. I am 29 and never got into it. I am very thankful I chose the other route with the gym and focused on fitness and health instead. Story 118. It makes it much easier to play make-believe with my 5-year-old. Story 119. It amplifies my sense of humor, and I get even goofier than usual. Story 120. The dopamine I lacked as a child and teenager. Story 121. I enjoy how drinking makes me feel. That first sip sends a flood of endorphins to my brain. The second leads to a third. I love how it lets me turn my brain off, at least the parts tied to stress, anxiety, and my sense of self. But it takes a toll. I cannot count the hangovers I have suffered in pursuit of the next drink or the person across the bar. I am seriously considering dry January. I think I can do it. Most of my friends drink too much anyway. Story 122. I use alcohol as a general social lubricant. I enjoy connecting with people and, sadly, it seems to bring more out of me and others. It speeds up the process in short or casual encounters. Story 123. I forget my thoughts and feelings and fall asleep in my own urine. Story 124. It tosses the sandbags overboard so the balloon can soar. Suddenly I'm above the ordinary. I'm competent. Extremely competent. I'm walking a tightrope over Niagara Falls. I'm one of the great ones. I'm Michelangelo molding the beard of Moses. I'm Van Gogh painting pure sunlight. Story 125. Escaping reality and forgetting things I would rather not remember. Story 126. I feel extremely socially awkward, and I used alcohol frequently in my early 20s as a social lubricant. It reduced my social anxiety and made me more outgoing. Now, in my 30s, I am making a lot of effort to be more social without alcohol. I still enjoy drinking, but I notice more negatives. Losing a day to a hangover is unpleasant, and I often make poor decisions. I have been drinking less often, and when I do, I drink smaller amounts. I used to never understand having just one drink, but now I see the appeal. Many friends use cannabis for the same reasons I drank, but I cannot because of my security-sensitive job. I am gay and in an open relationship. I usually take a shot before a new hookup arrives to manage social anxiety. It has become a kind of tradition. Story 127. It's usually something I enjoy in social situations, but I don't drink much when I'm flying solo. Story 128. My favorite moments with alcohol are around a table with close friends or family, sharing a glass of red wine and a great debate or conversation. I switch to cannabis drinks at other times, and that has been a game changer. Story 129. After nearly drinking myself to death for about 25 years and then quitting, I realized it was primarily a way to relieve boredom. It can get out of hand once you accept it and start acting on it. Story 130. I like the taste of some. It makes funny things funnier and interesting things more interesting. It gives me a bit of courage to do things like karaoke, which I love but feel too self-conscious to do while sober. Story 131. I loved alcohol back in college. It made parties more enjoyable, made conversing with complete strangers more fun, and it made the time pass quicker. I have to admit, cannabis is more enjoyable and is the reason I quit alcohol altogether. It has been 2 years now. Story 132. Alcohol is an easy key, helps you unwind and dance with me to a disco track from Germany, song by XTC. Story 133. It helps my anxious, depressed, autistic self relax. I have tried weed many times and it has the opposite effect. Story 134. Alcohol is a fun social lubricant. Getting intoxicated is not fun. Story 135. I do not miss drinking, but I do miss driving after drinking. Story 136. Living alone feels good. It helps with the intense boredom that occasionally appears when there is nobody else in the house. Story 137. As an introverted person, alcohol makes me feel more outgoing when I am uncomfortable at parties. Story 138. I do not really drink, and when I do, I always stop at no more than 2. People become worse after that, and it is easy to see. Story 139. I only enjoy socializing when I am doing something relatively active. Poker nights and other game nights are ideal and make socializing more enjoyable. Story 140. Rum is my drink of choice. Failing that, whiskey. I drink to escape reality for a while. Story 141. It quiets my mind and makes me more social, so I can spend time with people and focus on conversations. It also makes me feel careless. Story 142. The feeling of relief, huh? Enough of it can make for a great weight loss experience. Story 143. My body no longer functions without it. This is due to more than 30 years of addiction. Story 144. The feeling it gives me, the fun times it leads to, the experience, and on very rare occasions, the taste. Story 145. I genuinely like the taste of beer, but I am fine with non-alcoholic beers as long as they taste good. Guinness non-alcoholic. Very nice, very similar to the regular version. Beck's non-alcoholic. Good flavor. I do not drink regular Beck's, so I am not sure about the comparison. St. Polygirl non-alcoholic. Good. I do not recall the regular taste well. Klaus Taylor. Good. This brand does not have an alcoholic version. Heineken Zero, bland, like water. Budweiser Zero, bland, like water. Corona non-alcoholic. Basic, but better than Budweiser Zero and Heineken Zero. Story 146. I've tried very hard to enjoy alcohol, but I cannot. Everyone else seems to be having so much fun with it. Story 147. As a spirits lover, including whiskey, gin, and cognac, I love exploring the nuances in flavor between various bottlings. For me, it is like enjoying various kinds of cheeses, hams, and chocolates. I drink a lot of alcohol, but I never get drunk. Story 148. I enjoy a drink or two, such as wine or whiskey, usually with or after a meal. I do not like getting drunk and do not want to be impaired if I have to respond to an emergency. Story 149. I am schizophrenic and autistic. I use it during social events that I cannot avoid. Story 150. That is a very good question. I could write a book about it, but I will keep it short. Alcohol gives a carefree feeling and a buzz that makes everything more enjoyable. Music sounds better, food tastes better, socializing is easier and more rewarding. You live in the moment and forget worries. You feel relaxed and affectionate toward people. Many alcoholic drinks are simply delicious. My relationship with alcohol is love and hate. The drunken night feels amazing and worth it, but the hangover and the crash are the opposite. There is also the toll it takes on the body and mind. I would switch to cannabis anytime if my country were not such a backwoods place that still believes myths about people peeling themselves like oranges. Story 151. I do not have to think about all my trauma for a while. It is nice to just get giggly and wobbly. It is only a problem when I have one too many and suddenly I am having a medical episode. I feel embarrassed. Story 152. As Homer Simpson said, to alcohol, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. Story 153. It is fun, but you should never do it if you depend on it for any reason. Story 154. Ethanol affects the brain from front to back. Its first effects are on the prefrontal cortex, a region that inhibits and regulates impulses. The initial disinhibition creates a wide-open feeling that I enjoy. It then moves rearward to the midbrain, which regulates emotions. Some people become morose, some become belligerent, but most of us turn the disinhibition into joy and laughter. Eventually, it reaches the brainstem, which controls basic functions such as breathing and wakefulness. At that point, you become sleepy. Story 155. It gives me the ability to be myself, who I am on the inside, not who I have created to cope with the world and society. I am likely autistic, so take it for what you will. Story 156. I do not really get anything out of alcohol, to be honest. I am a woman in my 20s. It just makes me feel awful, and I do not need it to have fun. Story 157. I don't really enjoy it anymore. It used to be fun when I was younger. Story 158. Making high-quality wine, beer, and spirits is an art. I brew some of my own beverages, and it is a treat when they turn out well. It changes how you appreciate quality drinks. Story 159. I have trouble relaxing. Alcohol essentially forces me to. If I use it responsibly, I can still get things done as long as the tasks do not require fine motor skills. For example, I often have a beer while doing laundry. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and I am unmedicated, and laundry is my biggest weakness. I will subconsciously make things up to distract myself. Doing laundry sober is like trying to phase through a wall by vibrating between the molecules. I just cannot. The beer relaxes me and forces my brain to slow down. I stop coming up with ideas and then I can just do it. The wall disappears. I like cocktails because they are tastier and extra relaxing. I will have a cocktail to help me fall asleep or to compartmentalize a particularly tough day so I can finish the final tasks I need to do. I cannot smoke cannabis because of asthma, and every time I have tried edibles I have become very paranoid. So alcohol it is. Story 160. I enjoy the taste of some beverages. In certain circumstances I prefer to be less inhibited and more open. Alcohol helps me get over myself. Story 161. It takes me out of depression and lets me feel good. I'm trying to stay away from it after seeing how good it feels not to be depressed. Laughing out loud. I'm not rich enough to be a high-functioning alcoholic. Story 162. It gave me the ability to sleep and tolerate a toxic work environment, but it eventually made both worse. I quit drinking, then started again and drank nearly every day for 10 years, and I had not had a solid bowel movement during that time. Story 163. My dad always said, 2 beers, that's enough for the evening. I always thought he was a dork, but after making several mistakes I see why. Sadly, his father was an alcoholic and he never mentioned his childhood. I only heard about it from my mom and aunt. Story 164. It reduces the excessive noise in my head, and I overthink less. It brings out a dormant part of my personality, and I find it easier to have conversations because I do not worry or get as anxious. I find it easier to express emotions without worrying as much. I enjoy drinking, listening to music, and playing video games. Story 165. I used to enjoy it for the laughs, the general come down I got once the buzz set in, and the atmosphere of drinking at parties, events, bars, and sales events. However, the aftereffects of drinking, including headaches, hangovers, and depression, began to outweigh the positives. 2 years sober in January. Story 166. I don't anymore. Sobriety is the new way of getting messed up. I used to think it would help me be more social. Then I started going to parties sober and realized that I have more fun. I got up and sang karaoke sober at a Christmas party this year, and they pretty much had to force me to stop after 10 songs. Story 167. I don't really like it that much. I enjoy it on special occasions, but when I do it a lot over a period, it loses its appeal. Story 168. Because it helps me forget that I'm supposed to be afraid. Story 169. It makes the anxiety go away, and I can finally have real conversations with people instead of being the silent observer. Story 170. It was my wind down after work and helped me go to bed. After more than 20 years in restaurant management and being constantly around it, it was too easy to start drinking as soon as the last reservation came in. I have been sober for 1.5 years now, and it is hard because I still miss it. Story 171. 1 or 2 drinks give me a nice, warm, happy feeling. Now that I am in my 40s, almost always that is what I am aiming for, and drinking more would only risk a hangover. If it is a party where I am expected to hang around, shout, and dance for a long time, I will keep drinking. It is the only way I can get through those events. It is fun enough to do once a year. Story 172. It takes the edge off. Plus, sometimes it's just nice to be well-rounded. Story 173. 4 E's, calm and laughter. I rarely drink and only a little. Story 174. It makes the voices go away, helps me come out of my shell, and makes me feel less anxious and less worried about what I do and say, until tomorrow laughing out loud. I also like the taste, the texture, and especially the context. I love a cold lager on a hot day, a pint of creamy Guinness on a rainy day, a strawberry daiquiri on the beach, an Irish coffee at Christmas, a hot whiskey on a frosty evening, a shot of Sambuca, Genepi, or Chartreuse to take the edge off, an old-fashioned on a date, and a limoncello after dinner for a sweet finish and digestion. And of course a few glasses of wine at dinner with friends and family sharing a story and a laugh. Story 175. It gives you a pleasant feeling, and things progress more smoothly. From the Aki Kaurismäki film Shadows in Paradise, Varhoja Parataisissa. Story 176. How many times has this been asked? Karma farming. If you want to know, search previous posts. Story 177. I can laugh, let my hair down, and enjoy myself. Story 178. I can let my mental guard down, finally cry, and release my pent-up emotions. Story 179. I enjoy being a bit buzzed, but mostly because it tastes good. Story 180. In my country there is zero alcohol tolerance while driving. When I am drinking, I am off duty. No driving, no work, no chores, just enjoying free time. I love quality whiskey and rum. A great bottle often carries hundreds of years of tradition, craftsmanship, and culture. And if you enjoy the taste, it becomes a very complex experience. You can savor the drink rather than simply getting drunk, so it is a win for everyone. Story 181. Unblocks my wit. The only thing I cannot stand about it is that it dries up every last drop of moisture in my body. Story 182. I like the taste of most good wines, some beers, and a few cocktails, but I do not enjoy the taste of most other alcoholic drinks. I do not like drinking a lot anymore, but 2 to 4 drinks with friends over a few hours are fun. Fewer is unsatisfying. More is too much and a hangover waiting to happen. Story 183. I do not. Alcohol takes me on a ride toward liver failure, and cocaine does as well. Laughing out loud. Story 184. I am single and childless, living in a small town and approaching middle age. If I did not go to the bars, I would have no friends. The drinking is a byproduct. Luckily, alcohol is very cheap at a small town bar. Story 185. I genuinely enjoy it. It relaxes me, helps me sleep, sometimes makes sex much more intense, and toasting with friends always feels nice. I just wish I did not feel so guilty for not wanting to stop, and I dislike how awful hangovers are and how alcohol-related erectile dysfunction can occur, but overall I like it. Story 186. I appreciate the art of spirits, mixing, and the history of the craft. It is an interesting tasting experience. Story 187. I see a lot of comments about using it to stop overthinking and relax. What if that does not work? I do not really like drinking, but I can drink until I am sick and the overthinking never goes away. My buddy told me at a pub the other day, as a joke, that I look very tense and unapproachable. I do not know what to do about it. Story 188. I enjoy the flavor of beer. I drink maybe 12 a year, so I am not a drinker. Story 189. Rubbing alcohol for outside boo-boos, drinking alcohol for inside ones. Story 190. The last 15 years of brewing in the United States have produced some of the most diverse tastes and styles of beer in the world. It has been a fascinating journey. Much of it is good, some exceptional, and some terrible. The journey has taken me to cities, towns, and villages I never would have heard of without beer. I also get to enjoy a buzz while exploring. Story 191. A good red wine served with a meal can make the entire experience much more enjoyable. The same meal with only water would be half as enjoyable. Story 192. I used to like that, it seemed to take some stress away, but I have mostly lost my taste for it now. It has been replaced by biking. I try to ride about twice a week. Story 193. When alcohol first hits, suddenly you giggle and think, whoa. That moment makes it worthwhile. I do not drink often. On average, 1 or 2 large mixed drinks per month. I am not a beer person and do not speak for those who get drunk regularly. In college, when social situations were nightly, a small amount of alcohol made my anxiety disappear and nights became much more fun. Story 194. Enjoy the taste and the buzz. My wife and I mostly drink together at home. We are very happy, and drinks at night after a long day of work and parenting just enhance our time together. Story 195. 3 things shall always flow in my home: fresh air, good cheer, and fine spirits. Story 196. Because it makes me feel fucking amazing, and I have a lot of fun when I drink. Story 197. Helps maintain a lifestyle of high body weight, high cholesterol, and high blood pressure. Story 198. I don't. I'd rather take a small edible and not feel terrible the next day. For me, alcohol is the worst of the 3 options: abstaining, using alcohol, and using cannabis. Story 199. It makes a group setting more comfortable. Otherwise, I wouldn't go at all, which seems worse than drinking within reason. Story 200. Good red wine is an art. Great cocktails are beautiful. It's like a party in my mouth. Story 201. This question was asked at least 10 times this week in this subreddit. Story 202. It tastes simply incredible. I love red wine, white wine, champagne, whiskey, beer, bitters, and rum. I enjoy drinking seasonally. In summer, I prefer lagers, white wine, champagne, and whiskey. In winter, I prefer India Pale Ale, stouts, red wine, and whiskey. I love the sensation of a light, pleasant burn when I sip whiskey. It gives me the confidence to get out and dance. Story 203. I enjoy the flavors that go into a good craft beer, and I like supporting local small businesses through my purchase. My favorite brew pub is always trying new things. It is fun to see what they come up with. For stronger drinks, a delicate, woody rye by the fire pit is fantastic, especially on a chilly winter night. Story 204. The alcohol is good and tasty, but the friends I have made at the craft beverage spots are the best part. I never drink at home or alone. I reserve drinking for the best social situations. Story 205. It helps with my social anxiety and general anxiety. The first couple of cans help, but I can't go beyond that. Story 206. I sometimes drink to enhance the night. It is easier to loosen up and engage in conversations. Just know your limit. Story 207. Sometimes it's fun not to think so hard and be a little goofy about it. Though honestly, I enjoy it a bit too much, so I don't drink anywhere near as frequently as I used to. Story 208. I don't. My father was an alcoholic who beat my mother. Story 209. I like being able to relax with my friends instead of worrying about every tiny detail. Story 210. I enjoy being drunk, but I hate the anxiety and panic attacks the next day. It reminds me of an atmosphere song where the singer describes a wicked hangover and how he loses a whole day after a night of drinking. Even when I drank a lot, I would get really bad hangovers every month or so and lose a whole day, experiencing panic attacks, covered in sweat and desperate to eat. Story 211. Every drink is an experience. You are ingesting liquid craftsmanship. Story 212. It makes me feel fuzzy, warm, and happy, but after almost 14 years of drinking and getting older, I cannot do it anymore. The hangovers are not worth it. Story 213. When I drink, I contain the monsters in my head. Feels very soothing. Story 214. I popped into a local brewery and, over the last 2 years, the owner and his parents have become family. I have met other family members, friends who became close to me, and strangers who stop by. Even though I can be there from 5 to 10, I may only have 2 or 3 drinks. It is not so much the alcohol as the environment. Story 215. In small quantities it makes music and conversations more enjoyable, but tequila specifically increases my libido. Unfortunately, due to stomach issues I cannot even have 1 drink. Story 216. It increases my social battery. When hanging out with friends, I am spent after a couple of hours maximum. However, making the most of an open bar at a wedding means I can enjoy the entire event without fully dissociating. Story 217. A few things help prevent the constant fake conversations I have with others and the overanalyzing in my mind. Alcohol is one of them. Working with a therapist over the past year has helped me become less dependent on it, but it is still difficult. Story 218. You can make some very tasty things with alcoholic ingredients. Story 219. Honestly, I think of it primarily in relation to the process of eating. A glass of something sparkling to pique the appetite, and a glass of wine or beer to pair with the meal. After dinner drinks like scotch or brandy feel historical in a strange way. The taste of specific wood from the barrel or the character of a different mash bill are an ode to traditions that undoubtedly date back hundreds of years. I also enjoy being drunk. Story 220. I don't enjoy it, but I do it as an escape. I hate that about myself. Story 221. I like the taste. It helps me relax and makes me feel good when used in moderation. Story 222. Is it weird to say that I genuinely enjoy the flavor of beer, wine, spirits, and cocktails? These days, I rarely drink to the point of being tipsy, but I still enjoy them as beverages. Story 223. I do not drink at all because it costs video game money. I admit I like that it dulls parts of the population and slightly reduces my competition, although I do not enjoy other people's harm. I am not interested in watching a real-life Homer Simpson self-destruct, even if I enjoy the fictional show. I can show up to work because I do not know what a hangover is. I can easily go a decade without a drink or withdrawal, and I am thankfully not a victim of drunk driving or similar harms. Story 224. Because it's the only time my dance moves look good to me. Story 225. I do not enjoy alcohol. However, the United States severely prohibits alternative methods of numbing oneself. To stave off starvation and homelessness, I cannot touch marijuana. Liquor is still my last resort. I would rather live through the bullshit sober. Story 226. I don't partake often, but when I do, I somehow become very skilled at darts, billiards, and singing. Story 227. I'm currently enjoying a corpse reviver, and I feel revived. Story 228. I'm a damn good bartender, so I make great drinks. Story 229. 1 drink is fun and tasty. 2 drinks change my relationship to consequences. Suddenly everything seems like a good idea. 3 drinks and past experience send me home. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Story 230. It's tasty. I've even started to make and enjoy complex mocktails. I like the flavor, not the bed spins. Story 231. Not necessarily what it does, but what it brings. A good time with friends, laughter, and memories. Story 232. It makes me feel good and relieves my anxiety. Story 233. Calms my brain so I can focus without getting distracted. At social events, It relaxes me enough to make conversation or dance and so on without feeling insecure or awkward. I do not drink much or very often. Story 234. I genuinely enjoy the taste. I do not drink to get drunk. I hate feeling out of control. A slight buzz can be fun, but if I go beyond that, I make myself sober up. Story 235. It numbs my restless mind. It's a good alternative to ending my life if you ask me. I'm really sorry you're feeling this way. Are you thinking about hurting yourself? If you're in immediate danger, please call your local emergency number now. If you're in the U.S. or Canada, you can call or text 988. If you're in the U.K. and Ireland, Samaritans are at 116 123. In Australia, Lifeline is 13 11 14. If you want, I can help find a crisis line in your country, stay with you here, or help you reach out to someone you trust. Do you feel safe right now? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.